On March 4th of 2024, 21-year-old Texas A&M college student Caleb Harris would vanish from outside of his apartment complex in the middle of the night while he was waiting for his Uber Eats order to be delivered. The food would eventually be dropped off. However, Caleb was nowhere to be found. As morning broke, his roommate would wake up and find the delivery bag sitting on their front doorstep untouched. And after searching the home, Caleb was still not anywhere to be found. His friends would end up calling his parents and the search for Caleb would begin. This one is definitely a mystery, and there's honestly not too much to go off of where Caleb is, which makes this case even harder. But let's talk about what we do know. 21-year-old Caleb lived at the cottages at Corpus Christi in Corpus Christi, Texas, a seaside city. Caleb's roommates, as well as some of his friends, also lived in this apartment complex. And these were kids he had known since grade school. They played sports together, they'd graduated together from a small Christian high school. They were very, very close-knit. Caleb's family knew all these friends for years and years and years, and they knew them very well. And Caleb is definitely an outdoorsman. He loves going duck hunting, he goes fishing, but he also likes to relax and play video games as well. From everything we know, Caleb is extremely close with his family and his friends. He's very friendly and he's very sociable. So let's get into this timeline, because the hours before Caleb went missing are extremely important, and they also just leave us more confused. According to Caleb's father, Randy, around 10 p.m., Caleb was on the phone with a friend, and they were on this phone call for around 70 minutes while they played video games together. At 11:53 p.m., Caleb ended up sending a text message, and in this text message, it contained a photo of the dog that they just adopted that night. The message reading, and I quote, "Jenny, like Forrest Gump, is the chillest dog ever. Not one peep yet. It's been 2 hours since it's been here, and it's eaten some eggs and sat in me and redacted's lap." End quote. At 1 a.m., Caleb is then seen on a Ring doorbell camera outside of his apartment with his roommate, friend, and their new dog.
He was with one of his roommates, a friend, outside playing with a dog. Caleb's face visible as he looked toward the Ring camera before they make their way back in the other direction on that night in early March.
He seems to be in good spirits in this footage. Him and his friends are just enjoying this new dog that they ended up adopting. Eventually, they would all end up going inside, and Caleb's roommate decided that he was going to go to bed, which is the last time that this roommate claims to have seen Caleb. Keep in mind, this roommate is also a longtime friend of his. Another roommate, along with the friend that was captured outside on the Ring doorbell footage with Caleb, would end up leaving and going to stay at a girlfriend's house. Caleb, however, does not go to bed, and he decides to stay up longer and start preparing for a fishing trip that he had planned for the next day. At 2:44 a.m., Caleb ends up posting a photo on his Snapchat story while walking the new dog. He also orders Uber Eats from a convenience store, and he ended up buying 2 Lunchables, an apple pie, and a Red Bull. Sometime after this, he leaves the dog back inside, and it's suspected that he did go back outside. However, just 14 minutes later, around 2:58 a.m., Caleb's phone would lose signal, either dying or being turned off. No one knows what happened to his phone or Caleb after this. However, we do know that his phone last pinged near his apartment. It's as if Caleb's vanished after this. No one has any idea where he's gone, where he is. There is no sign of him at all. Now, despite his phone turning off, at 3:03 a.m., Caleb ends up somehow sending a Snapchat to a friend, and he ends up sending a photo of a bridge. Now, this bridge turns out to actually be a drainage ditch that is just outside of his apartment complex, as you can see here on the map. It is speculated, because it was so foggy that night, he may have went outside the gates of his apartment complex while he was waiting for his Uber Eats delivery, and that he possibly thought the fog looked cool, so he ended up taking a picture of the fog on the bridge, and that is why he sent this photo. Again, that is just complete speculation, but it does beg the question how Caleb sent the Snapchat if his phone was turned off minutes before. I've seen a lot of conversation around whether maybe he sent the photo before that. However, because the signal was lost, it didn't get sent until later on. But the timeline is just very, very strange when it comes to this. And I think it's extremely important to note that Caleb did not have his shoes on. He did not have his wallet. He did not have his ID. He didn't even have the keys to his car or to his apartment. His vehicle was also left parked in the parking lot, and it had fuel in it. It is thought that he does have his phone, however. At 3:20 a.m., the Uber Eats driver finally arrives and ends up leaving the food on the doorstep of his apartment. It's said that she's captured on surveillance video, arriving, delivering the food. However, Caleb is not spotted in any of this footage. She does not recall seeing anything strange, and she also recalls not seeing Caleb at all, which is why she ended up leaving the food on the doorstep. Eventually, morning would come, and that's where Caleb's roommate would end up finding the food on the doorstep and not being able to find Caleb, and then Caleb would end up being reported missing. Now, due to it being so foggy that night, when police tried to look at a majority of surveillance footage, they were unable to get any good video collected, which they said is something that's very strange, that usually doesn't happen. They seem to have gotten a lot of video footage, however, because of the fog, you're unable to see much. There has been extensive searches for Caleb over the last few weeks, weeks, and yet nothing has been recovered, including Caleb. Texas Search and Rescue came in, and they ended up bringing canines out. They brought dirt bikes out to search in cooperation with the Corpus Christi police. The terrain around where Caleb lived also makes the search quite difficult because there is so many different types of terrain. There's wide ambit of roads, shorelines, nature preserves, and heavily vegetated and secluded areas, on top of the ocean only being a mile away. North Padre Island, as well as Corpus Christi, have been searched at this point. Along with the Coast Guard being brought in, underwater drones were launched 300 feet into the waters of Oso Bay, which is right by where Caleb lived, and they've also searched the mudflats of Cayo de Oso. Caleb's family has gone to the extent of his father Randy getting in a helicopter and aiding in the search of flying over the fields and patches of land in the area, hoping to see if they could spot Caleb if he has maybe had something happen to him and he's laying in a field somewhere. But they've looked in all of these places, and still there is not one speck of evidence of what happened to Caleb. And despite all of the people closest to Caleb being interviewed, police so far have found no reason to suspect them at all. At this point in the investigation, police are now leaving the area and they're beginning to search new leads as far as San Antonio, which is around 144 miles away, as well as New Braunfels, which is northeast of San Antonio, and it's also Caleb's hometown. So let's talk about the possibilities here, which honestly, everything is speculation at this point and up in the air. If Caleb ended up leaving his apartment complex, possibly to go stand by the road and wait for his Uber Eats delivery, outside of the gates was a very large road, and then there's just fields around. Eventually, if you go a mile, though, you are at the ocean. Now, to the right of the gates, only a few meters down the road, is where that bridge is, where he took a photo of and posted on Snapchat. I've seen everything from people speculating that maybe he was hit by a car on the road, since maybe he somehow went onto the road to take a picture or something, and it was so foggy that a car didn't see him, and then they panicked and basically took his body somewhere. I've also seen speculation that maybe he helped someone out there that had ill intentions. But if Caleb was hit by a car or was injured out there, you think police would have found blood somewhere, maybe parts of a car, skid marks, because when someone is hit by a vehicle, there's usually some kind of evidence of that. Yet police haven't found anything. His father Randy did say, and I quote, "He's the kind of kid that would help change a tire." End quote. So if he had gone out there and someone did need help, it is a possibility that he may have attempted to help them, and he possibly could have been kidnapped. We do have to remember, if he was somewhere near that drainage ditch to take that photo, maybe there's a possibility he fell in, but the possibility of him falling into this small drainage ditch and not being able to get out is kind of unlikely in my opinion. It's not like it's a very large river like we've seen in the Riley Strain case. And as far as I've seen, he wasn't heavily intoxicated like Riley Strain was. Now, as far as the Uber driver goes, police have actually vetted this person out, and it ends up being a young woman, and she was interviewed by police and she was cleared as far as I've seen. It said that she is seen on some kind of surveillance footage of her dropping the food off. However, she didn't see anything sketchy. She didn't see Caleb, but there was allegedly another vehicle that was seen in this footage, and she also seen this car as well. Police ended up tracking that person down as well, and it turns out that it was a young male that was there to visit his girlfriend, and he ended up leaving around 3 a.m. because he was going back home. I think it was to San Antonio or somewhere farther, so he had to leave early in the morning to get back home. And as far as I've seen, police have cleared this individual as well. I guess there's always the possibility that something did happen to him within the home, but as far as we know, Caleb's roommate that was there that night is one of his best friends that he's known from years and years and years. Police have interviewed this roommate. They've also said that they didn't find anything suspicious, and they didn't find anything of foul play in the home, it seems, or you think they would have said something. So this is honestly truly a mystery. What I do really wonder as well is why no surveillance video picked Caleb leaving the apartment again. We have this footage of him outside with the roommate, friend, and dog. However, why is there no footage of him leaving the apartment again and maybe walking somewhere? What also is very strange is the timeline of that Snapchat being sent out after his phone allegedly died. This truly is a strange case. It is really as if he vanished. The Harris family has posted a $25,000 reward for any information that leads to Caleb being found. They also have a deadline of March 31st for this reward because they want answers as soon as possible. His parents have also been all over the news. His father went on Nancy Grace. They've done foot searches. They've been very active in trying to help find their son. Caleb's family is also very religious, and they have faith that he's alive out there somewhere still.
I still believe he's alive somewhere. And it's really hard to understand.
Hard for people who aren't like Randy and Becky Harris, whose hope and optimism are rooted in their faith.
Our prayer is that wherever he is recalling scripture he is calling out and he feels a hedge of protection around him.
Their son, Caleb Harris, was up late in the early hours of Monday, March 4th. He messaged Randy his plans for the next day, plus then his favorite pastime.
Texted me about different lures and, stuff, YouTube stuff and stuff that, they're looking forward to going fishing the next day.
Now to put a picture of Caleb on the screen again, he was last seen wearing teal pants and a white t-shirt. He is 21 years old, around 180 pounds, and he stands 5 foot 11 inches tall. He did not have his shoes on when he disappeared, and his wallet, keys, all of that has been found in the home as far as we know. His family and police are begging anyone to check their doorbell cameras, any video surveillance you have on your vehicles, just any footage that you may have to see if Caleb is spotted on it. If you have any tips or any video footage you want to submit, I'll have that information down in the description. Caleb's case meets all the bad signs of something very bad happening to him. People don't just go somewhere without their shoes, their wallet, their IDs, their keys even. And I honestly don't even know what could have happened here. I think maybe the best possibility could be that he went onto the road to wait for his Uber Eats, even though he could have waited outside of his apartment and maybe something happened to him out there. This is just such a strange one. He was staying up to plan for his fishing trip the next day. They just got that new dog. This is a really, really weird one. Now, if you have any information that I didn't include in here, let's have a chat about it down below. What do you think may have happened here? My heart goes out to Caleb's family and friends, and I really do hope that he's found soon. It's almost been a month at this point that he's been missing, and we still don't have any bit of evidence of what may have happened to him. So I'll be down in the comment section below with you all chatting. As always, I hope you all stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I will see you in the next video, as well as I will keep you updated if any more information comes out on Caleb's disappearance.